Good morning, it's Mr. Lightfoot. This is our second lesson on multiplying fractions. Last lesson we looked at multiplying a fraction and an integer. Okay, so think back. I want you to have a go at answering these start questions. Pause the video. All the answers are whole number answers, they're integer answers. And I'll show the answers in a second. There you go, well done. If you got those answers, all the answers are integers, okay, which is expected from these type of fractions. Okay, so last lesson we dealt with multiplying a fraction by an integer, and we said that actually what we're doing is we're multiplying two fractions because we can write any integer as a fraction over 1, okay, and we write the answer and simplify if possible. Okay, so actually we have multiplied a fraction by a fraction. It's just been given us in a different form. Okay, so this lesson isn't that much different. It's the same as this, except that we're just given two straight fractions. Okay, so we're going to deal with two proper fractions, i.e. Just two normal fractions, and then we're going to look at mixed numbers. Okay. Bit of a starter question. I'd like you to pause the video and shade half of this grid and tell me what fraction you get. There you go. Good. Half of a half is 12. Okay, so you should have shaded 12 squares. And if you look what I've done, I've written the question as a mathematical statement. Okay. So shade half of this grid actually looks like this, a half of 48, which is the grid. Okay, a half multiplied by a half is a quarter, multiplied by 48 over 1, which is how we write 48, gives us 12. Okay, so well done if you got the answer. Okay, my big question today is actually a GCSE question, and you can see it looks a bit interesting. We've got a mixed number, we've got a multiplication, we've got brackets, and we've got an addition of two fractions with different denominators. Okay, so a little bit interesting. Pause the video if you want to have a go now. If not, we'll go through the answers at the end. Okay. Right, today we're going to look at multiplying two proper fractions, and then we're going to look at multiplying improper fractions, okay? And I'm going to show you a bit of a sneaky method of how to deal with big numbers, okay? So we'll look at this question first. This question shouldn't be that difficult. 4/5 of a half, or in other words, 4/5 multiplied by half. If you look at how I've written the answer, straightforward. There's nothing we've got to change, there's nothing difficult. I just multiply numerators, multiply denominator, and in this case I get 4 over 10. Okay, remember that this is the correct answer. It will make everybody smile if you get that answer. However, it's always good practice to simplify your answers if you can. Okay, so 4/10 simplifies to 2/5. So 4/5 multiplied by half is 2/5. Okay, and it's the same principle with this question. The only difference is that we're going to start getting big numbers. Okay, 8 multiplied by 15 is quite a big number. Okay, so we've got to be a bit careful. 5/8 multiplied by 2/15 gives us 10 1/20, which simplifies to 1/12. Okay, so what I thought I'd show you is a simplified way of reducing the size of these numbers. Okay, this method doesn't always work, but 9 times out of 10 it does. Okay, so what I'm going to attempt to do is try and simplify the question rather than perform the multiplication and then simplify. Okay, hopefully this makes sense and you sort of understand what I'm saying here. Now you should all know that multiplication is commutative. Okay, so in other words, 8 multiplied by 15 is the same as 15 multiplied by 8. Okay, it's no different. It gives 120, no matter how I write it. Okay, so I can take these two fractions and I can change them around. I can swap them around if I want, because 5 multiplied by 2 is the same as 2 multiplied by 5, and so on. Okay, and what I want you to try and realise is that these numbers here have something in common. These numbers here have something in common. Okay, I'm sure you know what it is. I'm going to use that commonality and try and simplify the fraction. Okay, so what I've done over here is I've rewritten the fractions. Okay, so I've written 5/15 multiplied by 2/8. Okay, because of the principle here. 5 multiplied by 2 is just 10. 8 multiplied by 15 is just whatever 15 multiplied by 8 is. Okay, I get the same answer, but now if you look at the fractions, I can now simplify them. And it becomes kind of interesting now. I can do the simplification first, then I don't have to do it at the end. Okay, so if you look what I've done, 5/15. Okay, that simplifies to a third. 2/8 simplifies to a quarter. Okay, remember that they're the same value. I've just created an equivalent fraction by simplifying. Okay, and the beauty about using this simplification first is that the answer just appears without me having to think about simplifying large numbers or indeed multiplying large numbers. I'm less likely to make a mistake here than I am here. Okay, so I'm going to try and use this method. We don't have to, but I'm going to try and use this method to simplify first with all my questions. Okay, so that's how we multiply proper fractions. Okay, there are some questions here. I want you to leave your answer in its simplest form. Think about simplifying the question first. Okay, so for example, looking at this question here, I can write 2/4 multiplied by 3/5 if I want, because I know that 2 and 4 have something in common. And I know that 5 multiplied by 4 is the same as 4 multiplied by 5, and so on. These fractions here will simplify straight away. Okay? Think about those numbers, okay? So to answer these questions, pause the video and I'll go through the answers in the simplest form in a second. There you go, well done. Okay, these are the simplified versions of the answers. Okay, so obviously if you didn't simplify and see if you get these answers. Straightforward. Multiplied by 2 proper fractions is quite easy. Okay, indeed multiplying mixed numbers is just as easy. It's not difficult. The only thing we've got to do is deal with the mixed number and large numbers. Okay, so if you look at this question, 1 1/3 multiplied by 2 1/4, I said last time when we were adding and subtracting that it's important that you change these fractions to improper fractions. Okay, think about how you do that. You multiply those two numbers together and add the numerator. Okay, so looking at how I answered the question, 1 1/3 can be written as 4 1/3. 2 1/4 can be written as 9 quarters. Multiply by top, multiply bottom, get 36/12, simplify to 3. Okay, and again, I'll give you the simplified version here. Okay, so what I've done here is I've rewritten the fractions as 4/4 multiplied by 9 over 3. 4 over 4 simplifies to 1 over 1. 9 over 3 simplifies to 3 over 1. And hey presto, the answer just appears. Okay? However, it's just as easy when the numbers are relatively small to just carry out a straight multiplication. Okay? This question is a really good example of why we simplify first. Okay? Now, 4 and 1/6 can be written as 25 over 6. 4 and 4/5 is 24 over 5. You can clearly see that the numerators are getting quite big now. If we were to answer this question in a test, then we'd have to work out what 25 times 24 equals, which it takes a minute or two of maths to do that. Okay, so rather than go down this route, there's nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong at all. If you get 600 and you're happy using this method, that's fine. Okay, if I do nothing and just multiply, I get 600 over 30, which simplifies to 20. Okay, but remember, it's a bit of work. If I simplify first by doing some simple division, the answer just appears. Okay, so again, let me show you what I've done. I've realised that 25 and 5 have something in common. 24 and 6 have something in common. Okay, so I have rewritten the fractions as 25 over 5 multiplied by 24 over 6, because 6 multiplied by 5 is the same as 5 multiplied by 6. Okay, am I allowed to do that? So I've simplified the fractions. 25 over 5 simplifies to 5 over 1. 24 over 6 simplifies to 4 over 1. And look, the hardest bit of maths I've got to do is 5 times 4, which is 20. And I've saved, a good minute or two on answering the question. And I've not had to do this, and I've not had to simplify that. It just appears. Okay, so think about doing this first. The answer is easier to arrive at. Okay, so once again, I've got some questions, quite a few of them. I'd like you to leave your answers as mixed numbers in their simplest form. Pause the video, have a go. I'll give you the answers in a second. Excellent, well done. Okay, these are the answers in their simplest form as mixed numbers. Remember that if you're given a question as a mixed number, it's always good to give your answer as a mixed number, and you're asked to do so in this question. Okay, so make sure you can do that. Right, last bit is this big target question. Okay, we all know BIDMAS. We all know that we should be performing the addition first, and then we're going to multiply. Okay, so I want you to pause the video, have a go at adding these fractions together, and then have a go at multiplying what you get here, the result, by 3 3/4. Excellent. Hopefully you got the right answer. 175 over 32. It's a bit of a horrible fraction, and that can be written as 5/15 over 32. Okay, so let me explain to you how I accomplish this. I rewrote 3 3/4 as 15 over 4 and just rewrote the question again. Okay, BODMAS, I've got to do the brackets first. I've got to do the addition first. Okay, so 5 over 8 add 5/6. I've got to do something with this bottom number, this denominator. I know that the lowest common denominator of 8 and 6 is 24. So if I wrote the 8 times table out and the 6 times table out, 24 would be the first number that appears. Okay, there will be more numbers. I could use 48, for example. Okay, but I'm using the lowest one. If I used 48, then I would have to simplify the answer. Okay, I use 24. 8 to 24 is 3. So 5 multiplied by 3 is 15. 6 to 24 is 4. 5 multiplied by 4 is 20. Okay, so 5/8 becomes 15 over 24. 5/6 becomes 20 over 24, and I can now just add the numerator. Okay, it's a bit of a horrible fraction. It is what it is. Okay, now I've then got to do the multiplication. Okay, so 5 over 4 multiplied by 35 over 24. Now you can, if you want, just do 15 multiplied by 35 to give you 175, and 4 multiplied by 24 gives you another number, but I didn't because I didn't want to. In fact, it wouldn't give you 175, it'd give you a lot bigger number than 175. I've simplified here. Okay, so 15 times 35 is quite a big number. Okay, so rather than me do that and mess it up, which I just have, I simplified. Okay, I took these fractions and I looked at them. Okay, and I realized that 15 and 24 have something in common. Okay, so I rewrote the fraction over 24 multiplied by 35 over 4. Okay, now I know that I can simplify that fraction because both those numbers are divisible by 3. Okay. Okay, so 15 over 24 simplifies to 5 over 8. I can't simplify this number, this fraction, because 35 and 4 have nothing in common at all, other than the numbers. Okay, so I kept that as 35 over 4. Okay, and then I just did the multiplication. I've still got to do 5 times 35, but that's a lot easier than doing 15 times 35 in my world. Okay, and then I have to do 8 times 4, which gives me 32. So the fraction, the answer, just appears as 175 over 32. And then I rewrote it as a mixed number. Okay, 32 is into 175 plus 5, remainder 15 over 32, job done. Next lesson, we'll look at dividing fractions.